I am so honored. Welcome, everybody. This is Suha Zehl, and I'm so honored to be hosting this Facebook Live. Um, we are talking about the 10 women leadership principles, which were created about a year ago by NAWRB, the Women in Housing and Real Estate Ecosystem. As you know, we've been going through COVID, everybody's been working at home. We've had a lot of stress and struggles, and we came up with these 10 principles to help us through these difficult and challenging times. And today, I'm excited to be talking about principle number 8, which is being present. And being present is sharing your time, and it is one of the most valuable gifts we could give to other people. And we do that by being intentionally present in the moment. We have Desiree Patno, Angie Weeks with us today. Wave, everybody, and Nancy Obando, who are going to be on our panel, and we're going to be discussing what being present means for everybody. But I'm going to start with a little bit of a story myself, actually. There are two really important quotes that resonated with me when I was looking into what does it really mean to be present. Maya Angelou says, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And that's really part of the core and the crux of being present, is how do you interact with other people and how do you make them feel? On the flip side, Theodore Roosevelt says, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And again, it's talking about that emotional connection with other people, being present with them through difficult times, through challenges, and through the celebrations and the wins as well. I remember one time, this was about 10 years ago, I was by myself in the Grand Canyon. And I remember hiking down and just being so overwhelmed by the beauty of the place. I actually started crying. I was on the phone with my mom and I'm bawling out. And my mom's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I'm like, I'm here and this is so beautiful. I just can't explain it. It's just, I was so present in that moment, enjoying and focusing what was around me, that it got me so emotional. And that to me is what being present is all about. That really resonates with me and tells me I'm in that moment. I'm enjoying that moment. I'm savoring everything that I'm seeing and feeling and internalizing and being able to focus on it. Nancy, why don't you share with us what being present means to you?
I think you explained it really well. In both factors, when you were saying that you were in nature and how it made you cry, and you were literally one with nature and enjoying that time. I like to live that way. I know that it's easily to get distracted right now, especially during the pandemic where everything's Zoom, right? Just like right now, we're Zoom, we're online, so we could easily get distracted. You could easily see people drifting off, answering a quick email that pops up, our text message comes up, we grab the phone, we look at it, and we forget that even though we are in a virtual setting, you could still be virtually connected and present. So I think that's an exercise that I've been trying to work on. But pre-pandemic, and that's how we come, about post-pandemic. I think it's really about paying attention to what the other person, is doing, paying attention to your surroundings, and just really just doing one thing at a time versus 20 things at a time, which I know we could all easily, get all,
Multitask.
involved in multitask. I know me as a mother, I almost find myself constantly multitasking. But I try to stop myself, especially if I'm, with my children or my family, to not do that because then I will miss, key things or details that I know that I'm not going to be able to bring back, especially with my family, as we know that our kids grow so fast. but even an it could be even a business opportunity. You know, if you're at an event or you're speaking with someone, whether it be virtual or in person now, you could easily miss an opportunity by not being present. So I think it's very,
Absolutely.
yeah, I think it's very important both in your personal life and business life, and even with your friends. I do believe that we have different buckets in our life. And, you know, sometimes one bucket has more water than the other, you know, because we only have so much water to give. But, you know, just really focusing on what's important, being present, um, you know, it's key.
I love that analogy with the water. That really you know, it really makes sense. You know, we have our cup is full, and yet we have to be there for everybody. And we as women in particular are so, we're such caretakers and nurturers that we always want to take care of the other person first, and we always put ourselves last. And so sometimes we do forget to be present. And you know, you talk about children, you know, they grow up in a blink of an eye. And I heard this, you know, a lot of us want to freeze that moment so that we can savor it and enjoy it. And so that when we, you know, when they're older and they're no longer at home, we can go back and think about it and know, hey, I was there. I shared this with my children. I know about 5 years ago, our family took a trip to Italy, and it was our first time as a family with my parents, with my brother and his children, with my husband and myself and our kids. And it was the first time we were all together in the same house and being present there, seeing how the kids interacted and how, you know, the multi-generational, they were all there. It's a moment that I savor forever. I will never forget that particular trip. It's not something that we've done frequently, but it's something that is so meaningful to me. Angie,
Mhm.
what about you? What does being present mean to you?
You know, I really liked what Nancy had said about just catching those key moments in
Mhm.
time. And, you know, a lot of it is about focus and making sure that your mind isn't running 10 miles ahead of the conversation. And, you know, I think with a lot of people, they're constantly like, I don't know about you ladies, but I definitely am guilty of this. Like, we're constantly planning for the future and, you know, strategizing and all of that stuff. And then we're also, you know, sometimes beating ourselves up for the past or saying, coulda, woulda, shoulda. And, you know, present is that sweet spot where you're not like having the anxiety or, you know, the doubt and from some of the things that have happened before. So I think that, you know, I'm always trying to practice presence, and I get a lot of mine through yoga. Because, you know, when you're in the pose, when you're trying to balance in warrior 3, if your mind is racing in a different direction, then you're, you know, you're almost guaranteed to
Oh,
fall out of the pose.
yeah.
So, and I also had when you were talking about the nature, Suha, I had one of those moments too. A couple years ago, do you guys remember when we had the super blooms?
Yeah.
Those were so pretty. And I was driving on the Ortega because I had taken a listing over on the other side of the hill, and I came up and there was just it was like a different planet because they were everywhere. And I just, yeah, I was like bawling because it was beautiful. And it was just like, this is such a gift of a moment. Usually a Lake Elsinore listing isn't always a gift, but you know, that I was like, this is why I have this listing right now, is to have this lovely moment. So I know what you mean about nature.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
and how many times
photographed
you
the
would,
super bloom.
Ah.
I mean, I was gonna follow up on that and say, you know, how many times do you get in your car and you drive and you're just, the next thing you know, you're at your destination and you don't even remember driving there. And that's because you're daydreaming, or you're not focusing, you're not in the moment, you're not present. And you may have missed something beautiful like the super blooms. You may have missed seeing the Grand Canyon because you're focusing on taking a picture of something, that you miss what's right there in front of your eyes. And it's a lost moment. That's it. It's never going to happen again. And a lot of us tend to, like you said, we multitask. We are doing this, that, and the other. Plus, we're on the phone, and we're, you know, it's hard for us to disconnect, especially right now with technology, I mean, technology is supposed to make things better, but it almost overtakes our lives sometimes. It's like you can't put it down. Funny story, I went to Puerto Rico in early June, and I made the decision not to take my laptop with me. And unfortunately, one of our dashboards broke at work, and I couldn't fix it. And that became such, technology is a great thing, but that was such an issue that we now have to find ways so that people can disconnect and not feel that they always have to be working 24/7. Because that work-life harmony is so important for our peace of mind, for our well-being, for our self-care. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely, if you don't have that balance, when I was talking about buckets of life, I literally wrote down my buckets of life. So I had a bucket for work, I had a bucket for friendships, I had a bucket for family, and basically I just had to write down what was important um, in each category, and that helped me actually reanalyze my life, right? And keep me grounded, because sometimes, you can't, sometimes there is going to be times, even though you want to live an integrated life in each bucket, there's going to be a time where your job is kicking ass, right? Like you're just like up, 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 and you don't want to lose that momentum. So then sometimes your family life gives, right? Something has to give. I don't, even though I truly want to live an integrated life in all areas of all of my buckets, it's not realistic that I'm going to be at even and each one. So I made a conscious effort of writing it down because I wanted to make sure that each one of them is important and that I could go back to that when I feel unbalanced, when I feel uneasy or that anxiety. I could go back to, okay, these are my buckets of life. This is what is important, and ground myself again.
I love
But
that.
I wanted to go back to what Angie also said about, like, it's a gift, it's almost a gift if you're present. But I mean, that's almost what the word means, right? Being
Being
present.
present.
Present is a gift.
Absolutely. Veronica, you haven't said anything, so I'm going to turn it to you. What does being present mean to you? And I'm so grateful that you're joining us from Puerto Rico, actually.
Awesome.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. I was looking forward to this session for a while now. Like most women, and to Nancy's point, balancing our lives, our work, our family, something usually has to unfortunately pay the ultimate price of not having us present. And unfortunately, right, sometimes it's what we love the most. It's our families. It's the ones that are supportive, and the reason why we are out, building careers and empires and doing all the things that we want to do, because we want a better life for our families. And so unfortunately, it's kind of it's a sad, I guess, testament of again, the overwork, the overwhelm, the access to everything, the technology, everything is at our disposal. And also there's fear of FOMO, as women, I feel like we're always struggling to find that balance. And for me, I find that the happiest moments of my life all come down to being present to what matters the most. Being able to shut everything else out, turn off cell phones, turn off the computers, and just be present for these conversations, these moments. They're so fleeting. And then, I don't have children, but I certainly have loved ones that, again, I suffered with the guilt of spending time with them, but really not spending time with them, right? Because I was so distracted by so many other things and deals and clients and calls coming in. And only to find out later, at the end of the day, without those people that we love so much present and being able to say, we gave them that time, that dedicated, just uninterrupted time, quality time. So present to me is being in the now, being able to give a person or people my full attention, turning off everything else that's distracting me and putting their needs before mine. I mean, it's really what it comes down to.
I think you also put it, I think that the common theme is it's not about us or the work, it's actually about the most important thing, and you want to be present there for them. I read, I think we've all heard this before, but I read it recently that, at the end of life, none of us turn around and say, I wish I had worked more. I wish I had answered one more phone call, or I wish I had talked to one more person. We all wish we had spent more time with the people who matter to us the most. And, we have to cognizantly make that decision that we have to be present. And one of the other things that I find very interesting is, are you interested in the other person? And when you're interested in the other person, you are focusing on them. You're giving them your attention. You're listening to them, hearing what they have to say, versus are you interesting? Are you talking about yourself? Are you not present in the moment, hearing what's going on with the other person? Are you, when you're listening to someone, are you already thinking about, how am I going to answer? What am I going to say? How is this going to affect me? Or are you really consciously hearing the words and processing them so that you can be there and present for that other person? Desiree, what do you think?
That's a perfect lead into my response. So thank you all for being here. And I want to read what the NDILC number 8 means. Be present. Sharing your time is one of the most valuable gifts you can give. Do it with intention by truly being present. You notice the word, it's not how you appear, how you look, how you sound. Are you perfect? Because let me tell you, if it was about how I felt about myself appearing, we would never have these calls, okay? And I'd never show up. The idea is that, are you there and are you listening? And as a visionary, I found out a couple of years ago that the more you listen and the more you're in the moment, understanding and truly blocking all outside noise and listening to every word, and you can formulate it, you can solve, help, give, and advise at a drop of a hat, because you're an independent outside voice seeing it from a different angle than who they are, because they're too close to the subject matter, if it's themselves or anyone that they love or part of that situation. And that is the most important thing, that more business and more opportunities have come my way because of being analytically analyzing what they're doing, but then also having the heart to be able to say, I hear you, I'm here for you, and I nurture your love as a parent of 4 kids. So to the moment to when Angie said, this listing was given to me because the fact is I saw the bloom. When I was 16 living in Alaska, Northern Lights, if you've never seen the Northern Lights, you want to talk about the world blast, the light reflecting off of the stratospheres and hitting the earth and bouncing back off, you really think you're in another world. That was 45 years ago. And I can remember pulling off the freeway and just sitting there going in awe, going, am I freaking out, or do we really see these lights? Because the entire sky is dancing. It was the most incredible thing. You can imagine snow's all over the ground. I'm in a stick Mustang and the car's spinning around. And I'm like, okay, we're in a car accident in a 4-way lane going down the road.
I love it.
16 years old going, this is nuts. But that moment I never forgot, because in that flash, I saw the world in a completely different light. Pink Floyd was playing with The Wall. You could go down and you could just hear this going through on an 8-track tape, the whole thing. And now with the pandemic, we walked outside and I went, the world hasn't changed. The people are gone. The green grass, the sky, everything is identical except the people. And that moment, I realized that it is us who makes the difference. It's not about how much money you have. It's not about where you've been. It's not about, who you are. It doesn't matter what your purpose is. It's going it. But the idea is that it is a reality. Who you are. Hey, Leora just joined us. Is that it's really about the environment of having the opportunity to say, I'm here for you. and I'm going to help this environment. And 9 times out of 10, it helps you more than it helps the person who's there, because the fact is that you're feeding off each other. And I think that's the greatest gift that we can give each other. And that's why these principles, instead of the word woman, remove the word woman and put it in every other classification, economic classification, place in the world, you know, man, woman, you know, diversity, you name it, anything, veteran, you LGBTQ, it doesn't matter, because the reality leaders are the people who know how to help in any kind of crisis. And that fear and anxiety is where we're at. So I'm just saying that smell the roses, take that moment to deplug, and you will cleanse your mind to think better and react better, because anxiety of fear, I mean, they just shut down the state of California's capital. I don't know if you heard it this morning, that everyone now must wear a mask in the state of California that goes to any legislator's office in the entire state of the government branches. Why? Because 9 people now have COVID, 4 of them have been fully vaccinated. So the point is, let's just get over it. Let's just say it is what it is, but we still have the opportunity to walk outside, breathe breathe the air, be able to live and still control. But we have to do it with intention and purpose of being present to maximize every day and every moment that we can. So I just want to make sure that that's an opportunity, that being present's everything.
It really matters a lot, being present. I mean, when you think about when you're talking to people, you know, a friend comes to you with an issue or a challenge, or a colleague at work, a lot of times they don't want you to solve their problem. They just want somebody to listen to them, somebody to sit with them and be present and hear the challenge or the issue at hand, and help them, ask them questions so that they can find the solution. A lot, I mean, and this happens with couples. My husband and I are the same way. You know, it finally, you know, dawned that I'm not asking you to solve my problem. I just want you to listen to me and hear what I'm saying and validate that this is happening or this is true. And that gives a lot of satisfaction back to the person, knowing that they're being heard, that what they're going through is real and matters, and that the other person was there, present, sitting, talking to them, looking them in the eye. I mean, that has so much. When you look somebody in the eye, there's no hiding. You're there. When you look them in the eye, you're there. They can tell you're there. Leora, thank you for joining us. I'm going to turn it on you and ask you, what does being present mean to you? And I'm so thankful that you joined us and that you are present tonight.
I apologize for being late. It's, I mean, it is what it is, right? You got to take care of life. And that's why, I mean, for me, being present is knowing when I can be fully available to someone else without distraction, without preconceived notions as to why I need to be there or why someone wants me there, and without all the outside noise. And so I could have plugged in while I was in my car on my way home from work, but I knew that I wouldn't be able to give my full attention to what we're talking about, and being able to fully listen to what you guys are saying, because I would have to be focused on the road. And I didn't want to do it while I was at the office, because, you know, people can still walk in and bug you when you're at work. So I wanted to get home and make sure that I was in my place where I had, aside from the cats who were constantly bugging me, that I had no other outside distractions. So that's what being present means. Oh yeah. And so that's what present means to me. It's being 100% there and being real, and actually shutting my mouth for a moment and listening with the intent to understand, as opposed to listening with the intent to respond.
And I think that's really again another core, you know, principle of being present is actually that focus, that elimination of the distractions, is actually letting that person know that you are there for them. I did a little research and I want to share with you guys something that I found. This is actually from Psychology Today. And they have 5 things that you can do to be more present and help you in your, you know, whether it's a struggle or a challenge, or it comes easy to you. Because some people, it's very hard for them to be present and to be that focused. And for others, it comes very naturally. So one of the things that they talk about is the unself-consciousness, is to focus less on the chatter in your head, because when you're focusing on what's going on in your brain, you cannot be present because you're focusing on the talk or whatever's happening in your own mind, that you can't really listen and focus on the other person. And when you tune out that mental chatter, that allows you to open your mind to the conversation that's happening. The second thing that they talk about is savoring the moment, and we've all talked about that, whether it's with your children, whether for me it's going with my family, whatever it is savor that moment, because that freeze frame moment is not going to come back. And if you don't savor it, if you're not present in that moment, it's going to be gone and you're going to lose. The third thing that they talk about is flowing with the moment. And by flowing, and I'm going to read this because this actually made a lot of sense for me. Flow occurs when you're so engrossed in a task and so focused that you lose track of everything else around you. I know personally, when I'm focused and so present in the moment working on something, 6 hours may pass, 7 hours may pass, because I'm so focused, I'm in that moment. It doesn't mean that I'm not distracted, or that I'm distracted or not, that I'm not in that moment. I'm in that moment. I'm so focused on what I'm working on that I look up and it's like, hey, how is it 2 a.m. in the morning? Has that happened to you guys? I mean, it happens to me a lot, actually.
Even with people.
Yes.
The fourth thing that they talk about to help you be more present is acceptance. Being open to things the way they are, that you don't have to change them. Even when things are going bad, just because it's not the way you want it to be, it's okay. Accept it and be present in that moment and learn from whatever challenge that is bringing your way, because that's how you're going to grow. That's how you're going to evolve. That's how your family will grow as well when a family is having challenges. Pause, reset, take a moment, think about it, be in that moment, and let yourself feel the feelings that you are feeling. Don't try to push them away. It doesn't mean that you like what's happening, but how you react to it after you've processed it and after you were in that moment present, that really what guides how your future is going to turn out. And the last one they talk about is engagement. And this is where we were talking about you driving and not knowing what's going on, and 15 minutes later you're at your destination and you've missed everything because you weren't engaged. You're not in that moment driving, noticing what's going around you. And a lot of times to stop yourself from losing track of time like that, you have to notice things that are different around you, new things. That engages your mind and makes you focus and be more present in that moment. I found those 5 things really, really, I actually wrote them down because they resonated with me, because like many people, we have so much coming at us, especially as women, with the children, with work, with family, with the house, with our aging parents, everything. And having these things really helped me, because I wanted to be more present. I want to be there for Desiree and for Leora and for you guys. I want to be a better person, and I want to be present, and I want to know how to get better. And those helped me. Do you guys, I'm going to open it up and see if you guys have anything that you would share that helps you be more present.
Go ahead. The one thing that really stuck out for me out of the 5 that you presented was, being open to what's going on and being open to the situation you're in. I can recall several instances where that's not me. I go into a situation, and Suha, you and I've had these discussions before, where I walk in and I automatically assume this is not where I belong. Nobody likes me. I don't fit in here. And the reaction is a physical reaction. I recoil. I look for the exit. I look for any opportunity to get out of that situation, because I've already got it set in my mind that this is a negative place, and that I'm not open to, like, I've got this preconceived idea as to how things are going to turn out or how the situation is going to turn out. And that's been my biggest struggle, and something I constantly work on, is being present and being open to the moment without this preconceived idea that it's that whole victim thing, right? I'm a victim. I play the victim sometimes. And so that's something I have to work on.
It's very profound, actually.
Yeah, no. So if you look at D&I, that's where D&I came into play. You have to show up and believe that it's okay to be at that table. You earn the right to be at that table and not go look for that exit. So, you know, the victim is something that it's easier to go away from than to run to the fire. And so you say this is the easy way to do it, and it is the hardest thing to overcome. And that's where this problem with the pandemic and the anxiety is that, okay, well, I'm just going to go away. And so the anxiety turns into fear. And so it's combination of the victimization that's coming to it. So the three go in hand as the ecosystem. But I have a really quick, funny story, but it's really not funny. And I think it's really needs to be heard. And I gotta say it in 1 minute. Is when I used to be a professional model back in 1978 to 1980 plus, I remember driving, working a full-time job, working 60 hours a week as a senior systems analyst, and then going modeling at night and coming back at 2 o'clock in the morning. And the story is, I could not remember driving from Hollywood back to Long Beach every night. I literally blanked out and drove the entire way that I could not remember until I pulled up into the boat, because I lived in a boat during the time. So the moment was, and I want to let everyone know, is that if you can't remember that drive from point A to point B, and you can't remember physically seeing those turn off points and things, you need to reset, restop, and restart, because you're doing too much too fast and we're not talking here at 60, we're talking, I was 18. So that moment of smelling the roses and enjoying that moment is so powerful. So I just want to let everyone know, when we're trying to juggle 50,000 things, this is so much more now that you have to take that pause moment, because life is too short to not enjoy and to be alive at the moment.
And I've pulled back on a lot of extracurricular projects that I've been working on, because I realized that I wasn't present in every moment that I was in, because I was juggling too much and I couldn't say no. And that's what I have to do, because then I'm not giving my all to the things that matter the most: my job, my family, my security, my happiness. And it took a couple of kicks in the ass for me to realize that these things don't matter. As much as I love these awards and all these things, that's not what matters to me anymore. And the accolades don't matter. It's building a legacy, helping my community, and being there for my family. And if that means I have to pare back all these other things that put me in the spotlight, that's okay. It sucks sometimes, because I can already tell that I'm not as out there as I used to be, but I'm happier, and it's not that superficial part. And it just goes right back to being present. I owe it to my employer, I owe it to my husband and my daughter, that I am present here. And even though I'm on this podcast right now, but that's okay. That's okay.
Well, I mean,
You owe it to yourself too.
Right, Nancy? I mean, I think you started to say something, and I think you were going along those lines. So please.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say, and you owe it to yourself. I think that's I think we've all said, we want to be present for others. How about being present for yourself? I think that's where it starts. That's number one right there, is you have to be present for yourself first, so that you could be also present for others. And I'm not saying that's how I've lived like throughout my whole life. I learned that the hard way. I lost my father and my brother within months of each other. And that was a really like big eye opener for me, because it was totally unexpected. Both deaths were unexpected. And I was like, wow, like, in a flash of a moment, like in just one moment, you could literally be talking to someone and 10 minutes later they're dead. And that's when I realized there's so many things that we preoccupy ourselves with, or worries that we preoccupy ourselves with in our mind, and all of that. None of that really matters at all. So I made a conscious effort of picking 2 to 3 things that I love to do. Me, Nancy, I love to do this. And that could be unique for everyone, right? I have my own that I realized I took up photography. That's something I love to do. I have fun doing. It's a passion of mine. I love gardening. I love taking care of things. That was another passion of mine. And, you know, and I love baking. So I said, okay, these are my things. This is me, right? This is what Nancy loves to do. And because I love those things and I make sure that I carve out to do those things that I love, I know that I'm being fully present for myself. I'm recharging myself so that I could then be present for others as well.
That's so
Love that.
important.
Love that.
Absolutely. Angie, how about you? What are some of the things that you do to be present?
Well, and that's what I was going to say. Like, for example, right now my cell phone is somewhere in a different room. That's a huge one for me. Just like making sure that I turn off the interruptions, or I don't know about you guys, but anytime like I'm on the phone and my email is up, like that's something like, and you can almost like literally hear it in someone else's voice when they're having a conversation with you. And then they just like, it's like, okay, they just slowed it down to read that text message or that email or whatever reply. So it's like, it's funny because it's like, we know we do it, but it you know, just staying kind of mindful and making sure that, you know, no, I'm going to be here right now. One of my favorite clients, like I was his techie back in the day, and his password was "be here now." And I remember, like, you know, he was one of my favorite clients because we had those good conversations and stuff like that. And I really think, like, I wanted to comment on what Leora had said and just say I love it that you still show up to be present, you know, even if you're running a little bit late. And I think that right now, this last year, all of us have kind of reorganized who we want to be present with. And that is freaking great. It is not just okay, that is like A plus. And we need to keep on doing that because, like you said, time is short.
Uh, and you brought up a really good point about body language, right? Being present is, you know, not doing this or looking off, and people pick up on those subtle body cues. So being present is a total experience and moment, like mind, body, and spirit. You have to be completely open and you know, and accepting and welcoming and in the moment. And you can tell when people aren't paying attention. They're picking at their fingers, they're looking at their phone, they're looking over their shoulder, you know, or just you can tell their eyes are glazed over. I can't tell you how many webinars and podcasts I've been on in the last, you know, 19 plus months where people are just completely checked out. They're not present, they're not in the moment. So I think that those are really great points.
And
You heard about the girl for 268 days that she wore the same shirt on the same on the podcast.
Waiting for somebody to notice. Yeah, I did. I read about that. That
Sorry,
blew my
Angie,
mind.
I gotta get that in there.
I love it. Thank you for getting that in there. Well, and one of the things that Leora had said too that I wanted to circle back to was like being open and kind of like those conversations that you have within yourself where it's almost like we're self-sabotaging and causing ourselves not to be present because our like inner negative voice is saying like I don't fit in or whatever. And we had just listened to have you guys listened to the 4 Agreements or read the 4 Agreements book?
No.
Oh, it's good. I'll post the different like agreements, but there's 4 of them, and one of them is to assume nothing. And so when we're going through and assuming things, then that it kind of just distracts you. It takes away your attention from like actually meeting somebody in the hallway and loving their necklace and realizing that you guys both make jewelry or something like that, you know? So
Notice something new. Goes back to noticing something new. Notice what's around you. Smell the roses, as Desiree said. I actually want to read one other thing that I found very, very resonating with me. And it says, and I apologize, I'm going to look to the corner. It's not that I'm not present, but I want to read it to you. Being present. The mind is like a butterfly that flits from one flower to the next. Seldom do we find ourselves nestled in the exquisite, real eternal ocean of the here and now. When you are, you can connect with your true self that is beyond the chattering in your mind. When you take the effort to focus your drifting consciousness to become fully awake to the present moment, you will discover the glorious light that dwells within you. And I read that, I mean, I'm reading it now again, and it gives me chills. It's, you know, goes back to what Nancy said. You have to be present for yourself. You have to open your mind and accept what's happening and just take it in, process it. Don't listen to that chatter in your mind, because that's going to distract you and you won't be present in that moment. And I think, you know, as we start to get out of this COVID situation and as we go back into, you know, whether it's the offices or, you know, our children are back at school, and, you know, are we going to go back to the way things were 18 months ago, 2 years ago, when, you know, families didn't eat dinner together? They didn't communicate. They were not present with each other. Are we going to revert to that? Or are we going to learn from what happened in the last 18 to 24 months and actually consciously and intentionally be present in our lives?
So Suha, I have a question for you. You said 5 years ago you went to Italy and you had 3 generations. Why aren't you doing it next weekend? Why do you need to go on vacation?
Well, we live in different parts of the country at the time, and my parents were overseas, so corralling everybody at the same time was it was a challenge. Unfortunately, like Nancy, I lost my mom about 8 months ago, and it was very sudden as well. I was on the phone with her. I mean, I was literally on the phone with her, and she passed away like 4 hours later. So that also resonated with me, you know, and knowing to be present and savor those moments. So as much as I would love to do it again, and we've talked about it, the kids are older. Our boys are now out of college. My nieces and nephew, 2 of them are out of college. The 3rd one is in last year of high school. My brother's gotten divorced. We lost my mom. So there's been sort of a, you know, it's not an unraveling, if you will, because we're still very close and tightly knit, but it's more difficult to do these kind of things nowadays.
My point was, and I apologize, is we don't need to wait to go on vacation to do it. We can,
I agree with you.
We can make a time and just say, everyone over at my house or everyone over here, that it's not
Absolutely.
a vacation. It's just, we're going to get together and be there because we were all savoring that moment to have dinner with each other, even if it was outside for that 1.5 years. But the point is that what's the difference if we all came outside to have that moment to be together? And I think if the greatest thing that happened during the pandemic is that we didn't lose the opportunity to be together when it's safe to be together, but the realization of the earth needs health and it resets itself. So if we could learn from the earth, you know, nature resetting itself, the cleanliness of seeing the Himalayas in China and things that have never been seen in 40, 50 years, we could go down the list. Then if life can reset in the earth, then we as human beings can reset by saying, let's pause and not get on a plane every week. Let's take that intentional time to take beautiful pictures like Leora is doing and send them to, you know, the local news network and say, hey, check this out. Like, oh my gosh, I'm popular now, right? in taking photography, or Nancy's, because we look at that skill and that's the greatest gift that we have. So as they say, take advantage of the pandemic. Don't use the pandemic to want to go into, see, your phone. Don't lose that pandemic to go back to who we were, because we now have to look to how great we're going to be and continue to be, because we were given a gift to reset our mind, our values. And it's not about the economics. It's about, are we going to have the people in the room that we can have a conversation? It's free to talk. And if you cannot sit down and talk, it's not about the material value anymore. It's about the experience. And that is the #1 thing of the highest wealth. And the people who live under poverty have learned it's about being together. And they're the ones who are teaching the rest of us that we can learn from them versus the other way down.
Totally agree with that. Completely. I think we're coming up. Veronica, yay, she's back. Anything you'd like to add? You're on mute.
You know, so much of, well, everything that everyone has said has really resonated with me. You know, I learned a long time ago that you can either wait for time to be, for the time to happen to do the things that matter, or you can make time for what matters the most. And so, you know, as a cancer survivor, I had to really face the fact that I had went all in on my career and put many things before my own needs and before the needs of the ones that love me the most. And when I had to kind of face that daunting battle, I realized, you know, none of it even matters if I don't have the quality time that I want with the people that I love and love me. So, you know, I think to Desiree's point, it really is truly a gift that we give others, to be present and to acknowledge them, to not be distracted, to give them our full attention. It also reduces our stress level and our guilt. You know, sometimes when we're not present, we carry that along with us into the next activity in the next phase. So, you know, I think that it is as much a gift for ourselves as it is for others. So I'm just so grateful for this conversation. So I thank you so much for the invitation. And I love having these conversations with you guys. Thank you.
Desiree, do you want to take us out?
Yeah, so thank you all, Suha, for being the host of number 8, for being present, for Be Present. And thank you everyone for joining us and everyone being a delegate. So this is a curation of delegates or spokeswomen. We all have different strengths and journeys in life. And I think that's the most important thing that we can bring to the table right now as leaders. How do we get here? What experiences have we can bring and continue to help each other? I think one of those valuable things that has happened to me and being on these calls you know, I'm on the NDILC Leadership Council as a chairwoman, but then also the delegates, and what this is to really be the spokeswoman to get out there and talk in all different economic levels is that it gives more to me than actually that I have ever realized, because I get to not only reinforce, but why do we do this? How can we help each other and share this outside the walls? And so the opportunity to learn and grow is so, so powerful. And so I want to talk about number 8 real quick. Number 9, prepare for the future. It could not be more prevalent than what we're going through right now. Women with advanced skills today will be ready for tomorrow's challenges. This is a time for economically for us that are, we might not have access to college. We might not have access to the different STEM calibrations that are out there. This is a time to retool, rethink, repurpose, because people are looking for how emotionally stable, how equipped you are to be multitasking. Here we're talking about being present, because those are the things and traits that we all need. So I want to make sure that's going to be kicks it off on August 1st. The NDILC meeting is going to be August 5th. This for the delegates, it's going to be on August 12th. And that is going to Angie, are you the one that's doing Be Prepared for the Future?
So I was going to say, I think I
have
summer months.
Right, our tech guru who has her own company, that formed a company and still part ownership in tech. So I'm going to love it. So we're excited. So just in closing, remember, it's the entire month. This is not about the moment. This is about being present every second, every intention. And the point is that we want you to tag hashtag NLC principal, and who do you can call and saying be present, whether it's you as a grandma taking your kids out, whether it's you going to Disneyland, whether it's, I called out Disneyland, whether it's you taking a moment to go just take something for yourself, smelling that roses, going to give something back to give it to you, because right now, I don't care how much money you throw at someone, I don't care what you're doing in it. If you show up and physically are present and mentally give your time, that is the most valuable thing. And if we can't be in person, mental is number 1, because in all the things, you got to be there for the heart and soul. So I want to thank everyone. I thank you all, our great delegates. And we're going to go off and spread our love and support and empathy and help to each other, because as much as we're helping ourselves, we're helping each other, and we're showing what we can care. So thank you all for being great. We have the East Coast versus the West Coast. We had 3 on the West Coast. The West Coast won, yes!
I'm neither.
You're
I'm Mountain Time.
Okay, so you weren't here the whole time, so we have a favor, but you're right. You leveled it out, Lior. It's now 50-50. If you think about it, we put Colorado, kind of we're in the middle. Okay, whatever. But challenged it, right? Hey, so high five. Please be safe, be healthy, and we'll see you all next month. In the meantime, be present and be there for your children. Thank you. All right.
Bye.
Thank you.
Take care.